Hello, I'm Melody. Welcome to Myanmar Today Review, and this is where we visit the top stories for this week from Myanmar Today. Here are the reports from our reporters from this week. Amyotha Hluttaw approves amendment on Bill of Microfinance. Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population issues NRC for upcoming election. Tamra donates basic foodstuff to MPC, MMPO, and MTPF. Reserve Aemahta rice to be sold to retail shops at cheaper price. The real estate market faces different challenges amid COVID-19. Before we get to the reports, let's take a look at the featured local news from this week. Vice President Myan Sway, patron of the steering committee for holding the Wazo robe offering ceremony of the Union government, addressed a coordination meeting at the Ministry of Religious Affairs and Culture on Wednesday. In this year's Wazo robe offering ceremony of the Union government, a total of 36 Seados will be invited. He called for necessary preparations. Chairman of the leading committee, Union Minister for Religious Affairs and Culture, Thura Uangko, and Chairman of the Working Committee, Deputy Minister Ji Min, reported on preparations made and work remaining to be done. Vice President Myan Sway gave detailed comments to ensure proper coordination on the discussions made. The meeting came to a close with concluding remarks by the Vice President. Union Minister for Information, Dr. Pei Myint, received Myanmar Press Council Joint Secretary 1 and representatives of media partner organizations. The meeting focused on reorganizing of media conference that is held annually, the date and place for holding the conference, and the subjects to be discussed, challenges that are being faced in the current Myanmar's media field, and changing media display. The 8th Media Development Conference was planned to be held on the 30th and the 31st of March this year, and it was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I believe it's time now for our first report. Amyotha Hluttaw's Bill Committee reported the bill amendment on microfinance submitted by the approval of Pitu Hluttaw on the second day meeting of the 17th regular session. Amyotha Hluttaw's Bill Committee has made 19 corrections to the paragraphs and subparagraphs and 1 cancellation of the bill on microfinance, which was submitted by the approvals of Pitu Hluttaw. Amyotha Hluttaw has approved all the corrections and cancellation for the committee during the meeting.
Microfinance in Myanmar has increasingly grown over the past few years to become the important sector of financial service provider targeting low-income population excluded from the regular financial system. The government gives an important role to it and more comprehensively to inclusive finance as a means to reduce poverty. Amyotha Hluttaw's Bill Committee reported the bill amendment on microfinance submitted by the approval of Pitu Hluttaw on the second day meeting of 17th regular section. Amyotha Hluttaw's Bill Committee has met Hluttaw representatives who wanted to discuss the bill and also the officials from the Ministry of Planning, Finance and Industry. After discussing and analyzing the bill amendment, Amyotha Hluttaw's Bill Committee can negotiate to keep the paragraph 16 and 20 and a subparagraph of the bill on microfinance as the last corrections which were approved by Pitu Hluttaw. Dr. Ngai Mai, member of Amyotha Hluttaw's Bill Committee, reported to approve the bill amendment to microfinance Amyotha Hluttaw on the second day meeting of the 17th regular session.
Amyotha Hluttaw Committee အသေးစားငွေကြေးဥပဒေကြမ်းပေါ် Amyotha
Hluttaw's Bill Committee has already discussed in detail with the Hluttaw representatives who wanted to suggest the amendment bill of the microfinance and the officials from the relevant ministry. The additional amendment and cancellations for the bill are reported to seek the approvals from the Amyotha Hluttaw. Then, a member from Amyotha Hluttaw Bills Committee reported each paragraph and sub-paragraph that can be corrected by Amyotha Hluttaw.
ဥရေချမ်းကော်မတီရဲ့ပြင်ဆင်ချက်များဖြစ်တဲ့ဥရေချမ်းရဲ့အပိုက်နဲ့အပိုက်ခွဲဂါကြီး
Amyotha Hluttaw reported to approve the correction of paragraphs 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 13, 15, and the respective sub-paragraphs by the committee. And Hluttaws are required to approve the correction to the paragraph 29, 30, 35, 36, 37, 38, 44, 50, 61, 62, and 64, and the respective sub-paragraphs of the bill, and paragraphs 38 are reported to be cancelled from the bill.
Then, a member from Amyotha Hluttaw Bills Committee reported each paragraph and sub-paragraph that can be corrected by Amyotha Hluttaw. Speaker of Amyotha Hluttaw, Mawin Khaingtan, has asked the Hluttaw representatives to approve the corrections to microfinance bill of Amyotha Hluttaw's Bill Committee. Amyotha Hluttaw's Bill Committee has made 19 corrections to the paragraphs and sub-paragraph and 1 cancellation of the bill on microfinance, which was submitted by the approvals of Pithu Hluttaw. Amyotha Hluttaw has approved all the corrections and cancellation for the committee during the meeting. 2011 Microfinance Institutions Law was enacted in November 2011. In 2016, the Myanmar Microfinance Association submitted a policy reform paper with recommendations to improve the environment for commercial microfinance. 2011 Microfinance Institutions Law will be replaced with the new Microfinance Bill, and the new law is supposed to provide the resource for the lenders and borrowers and permit actions to be taken against by any wrongdoing. Then, the microfinance institutions can lend currently, and the lenders pay off their loans accordingly if the sector develops and grows over the long term.
That's the report on Amyotha Hluttaw approves amendment on Bill of Microfinance. For the upcoming general election, the Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population is collaborating with relevant departments and organizations for issuing national registration cards to all eligible citizens above 18 years of age who will be given a chance to cast their vote. Let's have a look at the report.
For the upcoming general election, the Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population is collaborating with relevant departments and organizations for issuing national registration cards to all eligible citizens above 18 years of age who will be given a chance to cast their vote. Speaking to Emma Radio, Myanmar Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population said,
When we look at Aemahta region, the regional government had held even a ceremony marking its success of being able to issue national registration cards to 1 million people after the present government had come into power. Some of you might have heard the report that there were roughly above 900,000 people without national registration card number. When we sat down with the regional government and the relevant ministry on this issue, we found out that there were many people who had their national registration card, but they did not register their NRC number for the general election. So we are in the process of including those who had given their vote before, but we are in the process. We have not completed the work. The numbers of the people who don't have the national registration cards are more than 40,000 in this region. We have already made the plan for it and within 2 months, these people will have their permission to cast their votes. So for the upcoming general election, we are collaborating with different departments and other organizations. We will make sure that all eligible citizens above 18 years of age will be given a chance to cast their vote.
Speaking to Emma Radio, Tomomo Suji, Yangon Region Minister of Immigration, said.
နိုင်မဲ့လူကြီးကတော့9.8တန်းဝန်းကျင်မှာရှိနေပါတယ်ဒါကမတို့ဒါအခုလက်တလောမှာ
The total number of the people who are eligible to cast their vote we have for now is 5.8 million voters, but this is what we currently have for now. However, there can be a slight change in this number as we might have to reduce the number of voters who will turn 18 by the end of this year.
Uwima, Region Hluttaw representative from Laitaya Township, said.
The requirement of the NRC cards in Laitaya is high. Majority of people residing in Laitaya Township are migrant workers. So there is a great requirement in NRC cards and household lists. And as we need to be in line with the law, there occurs the challenge when we do the Myanmar nationals and household registration certificates Form 10. The challenge is that one needs to provide Form 10 to get NRC and they need to go back to their hometown to fetch the Form 10. Some people find it okay and so the responsible staffs help them with the process. But some people cannot afford to go all the way back to their hometown to get the Form 10 and they cannot risk being absent from the job, so it delays the procedure.
Mauntawi is the resident in number 16 ward from Laitaya Township and he shared his experience in applying for the national registration card.
Now it is convenient for us when applying for the national registration card. In the past, we used to give some money like the donation fee for the department and others. But now there is no case like this. Now it takes some time as all the people have to queue for all process. The people from other region and state are prioritized to get the national registration card within day, but it is difficult to get in one day for the people in Yangon. I wish that we can have it in one day. We save money for transportation also. Now we have to come back here.
That's the report on Ministry of Labor, Immigration and Population issues NRCs for upcoming election. Tamra families donated basic foodstuffs such as rice, edible oil, salt, and beans to Myanmar Press Council, Myanmar Motion Picture Organization, and Myanmar Traditional Boxing Federation on the 10th of June. The donation ceremony was held at the Tamra Hall on Wizara Road in Yangon Region.
Tamra families donated basic foodstuffs such as rice, edible oil, salt, beans to Myanmar Press Council NPC, Myanmar Motion Picture Organization MMPO, and Myanmar Traditional Boxing Federation MTBF on 10 June. The donation items include 500 bags of rice, 1,000 pieces of edible oil, 1,000 pieces of salt, 1,000 pieces of beans, and dozens of eggs. The donation ceremony was held at Tamra Hall on Wizara Road in Yangon. The ceremony was attended by the senior military officials from Tamra and the chairpersons and the representatives from MPC, MMPO, MTBF, and the media professionals. Commander-in-Chief of Defense Services, Senior General Aemahta delivered a speech regarding the purpose of the donation at the ceremony.
Even developed countries have also suffered the impacts of COVID-19, and our country is just a developing country. So it is impossible to be perfect in recovering these impacts in every sector. That's why Tamra is helping for the public as much as we can. Tamra also donated 1 day's wage of ordinary soldiers and 1 month's salary of senior military officers. Then we donated 25% of the salary, which include 4.5 billion jets, to the public hospital and the needs for public and retired military workers. The donation items have included the foodstuffs and also protections items. As Commander-in-Chief of Defense Services, I'm really grateful that Tamra can give some amount of help when the country really needs. The public participation is also really important for prevention and control of COVID-19. I want to request the people here to urge the public not to be careless and educate the healthcare knowledge to the public widely.
Then, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing handed over the foodstuffs to U Nyi Thonlwin, Chairman of Myanmar Motion Picture Organization. U Aung Jai, Chairperson of Myanmar Press Council (NPC), gave words of thanks for representatives of the donors. Speaking to Myanmar Radio, U Nyi Thonlwin, Chairman of Myanmar Motion Picture Organization, said,
Today is the second time donation to the Myanmar Motion Picture Organization by Tamra. The MMPO is going to also donate these items to the 1,500 workers from film industry at the fourth donation of MMPO, which will be held on 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of July. In the wake of COVID-19, the people are not convenient for their living, so the donation like this really help for us. I am really thankful to Tamra for helping us with the donation items like this.
Tamra families also donated the basic foodstuffs to Myanmar Journalists Association, Myanmar Theoretical Association, Myanmar Artists Organization, Myanmar Cartoonists, and Myanmar Film Associations last May. I am Jyoti Ritu. This is news reporting from MI Radio.
That's the report on Tamra donates basic foodstuff to NPC, MMPO, and MTPF. Under the performance of Myanmar Rice Federation, Aemahta rice purchased from export companies as country's reserve rice will be sold at a much fairer price to the registered retail shops. The shops must resell the rice to the consumer not exceeding 1,000 to 1,100 jets per bee. It is to support the grassroots people and daily wage workers to fulfill the daily consumption.
A 10% of total rice export has to be sold to the country as the nation's reserved rice. And according to the new announcement made by Myanmar Rice Federation (MRF), only 5% will be sold as their reserved rice. The state's emergency rice reserve is to ensure the food security, keep the price stable in the domestic market, continue to export them regularly, lessen the worries of the consumers during the pandemic, and not to harm the rice production of farmers due to the price fall when the new paddy is harvested. Therefore, the rice has been purchased from the exporters since the end of April. Until the 26th of June, over 2.13 million tons of rice have been exported, and according to the data as of 11th of June, the state has purchased more than 34,000 tons of rice from 123 companies, and the rice has been stored at 9 warehouses. The MRF released a new announcement on the 8th of July, stating that the rice, Aemahta variety, purchased from the export companies as country's reserved rice, will be sold at a much fairer price to the registered retail shops. The reserved rice has been planned to be sold at 22,800 jets per 108-pound bag, with a maximum of 200 bags per batch. The shops must resell the rice to the consumers not exceeding than 1,000 to 1,100 jets per bee, depending on the regions. Wang Dan-u, Vice Chairman of Myanmar Rice Federation, explained more about it through a phone interview.
The reserve rice will be sold at 1,000 per bee to the retail shops in areas where grassroots people live. and the laborers for the labor-intensive factory work. We have 1 million rice bags to sell to the local rice shops. The reserve rice will be sold to about 300 retail shops from Yangon region, 60 from Nebira, and 150 from Mandalay. The retail shops have to sell the purchase rice at a specific price. We're collaborating with the Department of Consumer Affairs to monitor the sale of retail shops not to exceed the price. In Yangon, Mandalay, and Nebira, the rice will be sold at 1,000 per bee, and in other regions and states, they can add transportation fee but not to exceed 1,100 kyat.
The economic impacts posed by the COVID-19 affected the grassroots people and daily wage workers to fulfill their daily consumption. When the COVID-19 outbreak started in Myanmar, the panic buying led to a slight increase in price of basic commodities, but it was successfully controlled. Wu Etang, chairman of Management Committee of Sri Limban Industrial Zone, also spoke to MI Radio.
We welcome the effort to provide the good quality rice at fair price, and we are willing to cooperate. In rainy season, it is difficult to store the rice because of the much moisture. So the rice to be sold should ensure to be in good quality. For the rice shops, they should have transparency for prices. We request not to take advantage of the people who are struggling with the challenges because of COVID-19.
The government also distributed the 5 kinds of essential food items to the households in April, and for the second time of assistance, it is providing cash assistance. News reported by Dora Susin from Myanmar International Radio.
That's the report on reserve Aemahta rice to be sold to retail shops at cheaper price. Let's move on to the last report for the day. The outbreak of COVID-19 has also greatly affected the real estate market in Myanmar in both sale and renting, especially in Yangon. However, understanding the impacts of COVID-19, the landlords also give some consent to the tenants as exemption from the rental fees, as it is also the hard time for them. Willison will tell us the full report.
Many of the people who have moved to Yangon for work and other life opportunities have been one of the most important consumers for real estate market, especially when it comes to apartment rental. However, the outbreak of COVID-19 has directly affected most of the businesses across Myanmar, forcing some businesses to close down temporarily. The economic crisis due to COVID-19 also means that for the commercial cities like Yangon, the rental market has no other option but to see it decline, whether in sale or renting. The decline of the real estate market is directly linked to the economic crisis of the people and the impacts of COVID-19, where many businesses are closed down and the workers left big cities like Yangon. However, there's another surprising story on the other side of the impact of COVID-19. Goso Ted is one of the tenants in Yangon who has been renting apartments for many years, and he spoke to my radio and said,
As far as I know, the business of renting apartment is almost stopped. I have some people I know from this sector. The business is not going well for both sale and rental. For the price-wise, there is a slight decline of renting fare. It seems that many of the property owners understand the difficulty these tenants face. As one of the tenants, there is some of exemption between the landlords and the tenants, where the duration of renting and the price is very much negotiable.
Uta, who is the vice chairman of Myanmar Real Estate Services Associations, and he also spoke to my radio about the current situation of real estate market, and he said,
As we all know, the market in this sector completely halted during this COVID-19, but it is coming back to life in the last few weeks, especially in rental service. Some of the main areas where the renting of the apartment is coming back to business include Sanjiang, Jimyandai, Alone, Damway, and Tenganjiang. According to the tradition of the people, moving the house and renting or buying property must be done before Wazo, and the people tend to move out or in after Wazo. And this may be the reason why the renting business is coming back to life. But as this business has been halted, I think having a short time to move in or move out is the reason why the people are making their move. Some may have to renew the contract or some may have to move out. But a slight rise in this rental business can be seen only in some downtown areas.
Due to economic crisis, there has been a slight change in the price of property market and the renting price as well. According to Utanu, the generosity of the people may be one of the reasons why this sector sees a slight change in price-wise, where the price is quite lower than usual one, and there's a newly popular term trending in this sector, which is COVID-19 price tag, where the consumers expect to negotiate the price using the impacts of COVID-19 as advantage. Tamra Moong is the owner of Myanmar Winshui Real Estate Agency, and she also spoke to my radio.
တိုက်ခန်းငါးတွေကတော့လေဖြစ်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ဈေးနှုန်းကျသွားတာပေါ့နော်နောက်တစ်ခုကဖြစ်တယ်ဆိုပေမဲ့တိတ်အများကြီးတော့မဟုတ်ဘူးကိုဗစ်ကာလမှာ
Renting apartment is getting back to it works slowly but with the exception of declining price. What we see is the landlord also gave some kind of exemption to the tenant where they were allowed to live into the treatment for free in some rare cases. And but even if they are not given free stay, there is surely a reduction in the price. For example, if a contract is signed for 6 months, the landlord extends the contract for another 2 months for free. The renting fee also dramatically declined during this COVID-19. The investment from foreign is not coming anymore. We don't have foreign companies operating during this time. Even if there is some, they return the project. This is the reason why we see many big garages left empty in different townships such as Landaya and the community. So overall, it is safe to say that the price declined when it came to renting the apartment.
This is Williamson for my radio.
That's the report on the real estate market faces different challenges amid COVID-19. Now moving on to international news. Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Friday said China supports multilateral frameworks, including the United Nations, in tackling challenges and seeking common prosperity. He made the remarks in a speech titled, "Firmly Uphold Multilateralism and Build a Community with a Shared Future for Mankind," at a high-level conversation of the United Nations Economic and Social Council. Multilateralism after COVID-19, what kind of UN do we need at the 75th anniversary? Wang said the world needs a United Nations that safeguards world peace and security, and fairness and justice, a United Nations that advocates harmonious coexistence across different races, systems, and cultures, a United Nations that champions common development by addressing the North-South gap, and a United Nations that keeps abreast of the times and effectively responds to global challenges. After weeks of wrangling, the Pentagon is banning displays of the Confederate flag on military installations in a carefully worded policy that doesn't mention the word ban or that Pacific flag. Signed by Defense Secretary Mark Esper on Thursday night, the memo lists the types of flags that may be displayed at military installations. The Confederate flag is not among them, thus barring its display without singling it out in a ban. Laid out in a memo released on Friday, the policy could increase tension between Esper and Republican President Donald Trump, who has cited free speech rights in his defense of Americans who fly the Confederate flag. President Trump, who has been accused of intentionally stoking racial tensions as part of his re-election campaign, has criticized the desecration and removal of statues of Confederate and other former U.S. leaders to energize his political base. Trump has also publicly opposed renaming U.S. military bases named after Confederate generals, such as Fort Hood in Texas and Fort Bragg in North Carolina, putting him at odds with his military, whose top general has said the matter should be re-examined. China's civil aviation regulator on Friday said that Japan Airlines, Lao Airlines, and Hainan Airlines are allowed to increase their number of international flights because of their effective COVID-19 control measures. The number of these round-trip flights can be increased from 1 to 2 per week until October 24th, according to the CAAC. Japan Airlines and Lao Airlines are the first two foreign airlines to be rewarded. According to the CAAC policy, if all inbound passengers test negative for novel coronavirus for 3 weeks in a row, the airline will be allowed to increase the number of flights to 2 per week. If the number of passengers testing positive reaches 5, the airline's flights will be suspended for a week. The suspension will last 4 weeks if the number of passengers testing positive reaches 10. That's all with the news and reports on Myanmar Today Review. We'll be back next week. Thank you for watching.